Hi everyone, it's Mark here. I'm back for my second vlog. I had a lot of response to my first one and it was very encouraging. So I decided to keep a ball rolling and get right back and do a second one. And for my second one, I thought I would do my review of Ruby Sparks, which I went to see today at the cinema. I mentioned at the end of my last vlog I was going to go see it, so I thought I'd come back on and let you all know what I thought. Before I begin, I want to warn everyone, this review may contain spoilers, so if you are planning to go see it, then you may want to stop the video now. Anyway, let's get on with it. Here's my review. I'll start off by giving everyone my basic opinion of Ruby Sparks. While I certainly enjoyed it, and I thought it was a good film, I have to admit there were some parts that left me disappointed, and I definitely feel this could have been a much better film than it could have been. I'll go into the reasons why, but I'll start off by giving anyone who doesn't know it a brief summation of a plot. It concerns a novelist named Calvin Weir Fields, who is played by Nick Dano. He wrote a book 10 years previously, and it was considered to be a classic. He was hailed as a genius author, and all this was before he was 20. So it's 10 years later, everyone's waiting for a second book, and he just can't write it because, he has to live up to this mantle now that he's an excellent author. So he's seeing a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist advises him to write a piece about someone who likes his dog after Calvin admits he doesn't feel he's bonding with him. So he writes a short piece about a girl. He ends up naming her Ruby, and he writes a load of character quirks, a load of history for her, and he ends up falling in love with her. He dreams about her, and soon he starts noticing some things popping up around his house, but he ignores them as soon as the dog's just dragging them in. So he wakes up one morning and he finds that Ruby is there, and as far as she's concerned, she's always been there. She thinks she's got a whole past. She's got, mistakes and everything about her as Calvin wrote. Well, obviously Calvin thinks she's a hallucination, so he tries to get away from her. Then he discovers that people can see her as well. As far as everyone's concerned, she is there. So he decides to embrace the situation and starts going out with her. Now, let me start off by saying what I like about this movie. I really enjoyed the plot for the most part. I mean, the story's an excellent one. I mean, we've all imagined who our perfect companion would be. If we could pick our partners, what would we pick? What would we want them to act like? What would they like? What kind of past would they have? And then that person is there. It basically explores what that would be like. Now, obviously, we all think it'd be like bliss. And Calvin obviously embraces it at first. He goes out with her. He starts enjoying his time with Ruby. He's very happy with her. But then they go to see his parents, and that's when things start to take a bit of a sour turn, because Calvin starts to get really moody about her hanging out with anyone else, because he starts to consider, she's his creation. And I must admit, it was an interesting turn, because obviously when something's yours, you don't want to share. And I understand him normally when this is in a relationship, that it just means that he's possessive, but he just feels, he created her. He has to be with her all the time. So I thought this was a very nice turn in his character, even if it did make him seem a bit unlikable. I will go into that a bit later. Now, I won't give you any more about the story, but it does end up ramping up because Calvin finds that he originally says he's not going to write anything else about her. He's going to leave her as he is. But when it seems that the personality he's given her makes her start to leave him, well, she starts to drift away from him. He writes down in some scenes that I really liked. He notes that he wants her to adore him and that she will be miserable without him. So it works. She's instantly the dutiful girlfriend, but she becomes really clingy, and I really love this bit because she's just an emotional wreck. She can't bear to be away from him. It gets to a point where he's crossing the road, he's holding her hand, his phone rings, he instinctively lets go, answers the phone, and when he hangs up, she's gone. He looks back, she's on the other side of the road, completely terrified because he's not with her, and she's nearly in tears. She nearly has a nervous breakdown at that moment. So he goes back, he writes, Ruby is full of joy, which ends up making her so happy you just want to strangle her. And it goes on a bit like this, and I really enjoyed these parts. And towards the end, he writes that he wants Ruby to be herself. Then he finds that Ruby herself is really not the perfect person, because she becomes very moody, she's pretty much manic depressive. She refuses to go out, and she nearly has an affair with Steve Coogan, which is kind of weird, because Steve Coogan, he's got like top 5th billing in this film, and he's only in it for like less than 5 minutes. Whereas like other people who were paid for longer, they don't even make it onto the poster. So, but yeah, the story goes on nicely. The acting, I think, is fantastic from everyone involved. I've given considerable praise to Zoe Kazan. I think that she was excellent in this as Ruby, and she also wrote the screenplay, which, definite hats off to her. Paul Dano was very good as well. I mean, even though at times his character, I didn't like him very much, Paul Dano he basically did the best acting he could in this, which was excellent. Antonio Banderas was also very good. I really wish he'd been in the film more. He was only in it for about 7 minutes, about 6-7 minutes tops. Which is a shame because he's also got top billing and he's barely in it. Who else is in it? Annette Bening is also good. She plays Calvin's mother. So yeah, it was good performances all around. Now I'll go on to the bad points. Okay, I've got 2 basic bad things about this film that I really didn't like. First of all was Calvin. He became very unlikable as the film went on. As soon as he started losing his love for Ruby, he started to become a jerk. He was snapping at her, and although I could understand like where they were taking him, we didn't really get much empathy for him. And there's a point at the end when he's sobbing on the floor, and I must admit, I just don't feel sorry for him at all. Because he's basically brought everything on himself, but he ends up paying for it. So I guess I can't be too critical. He does end up paying for his mistakes. But it all comes to a head in this scene where Calvin tells Ruby that it's the best scene of the film, by the way. Calvin tells Ruby that she's a creation, and he starts writing stuff down. First of all, he makes her sing. Well, he makes her sing uncontrollably. He makes her speak French again, but now she's realised that she shouldn't be doing this. She's snapping her fingers, and in the end, he's got her dancing and singing and telling him that he's a genius, which we've been told he hates to be called. And at one point, I'm actually, he starts to go crazy until he eventually just slams the typewriter. And I must admit, at that point, I didn't feel anything for him. Like, I didn't like him at all. He was just like, he was pulling the strings, basically. Also, the second point that I hate is the ending. I'm not going to go into it too much, but it basically feels as though Calvin's learned nothing from this film. Well, I'll tell you all the ending. Now, as I say, it's a spoiler. So if you are going to see this film, turn this off now, because I'm going to spoil the ending. Basically, Calvin writes a second book about his experience with Ruby. He doesn't name her. And he set Ruby free. He wrote down, Ruby is free to be her own person. She can't be controlled anymore. So she's left the house, and it's implied that she's forgetting all about him. So he's walking with his dog one day, and he sees her lying on grass reading the book. And he goes up, and he starts talking to her. And it just... these two people are going to get together, and Calvin's getting over most of his problems right now. He's writing again, he started to get out, spending time with people, and all of a sudden he's talking to Ruby again. And if they do start going out, she's still the person he wrote, so he's just going to end up having the same problems all over again. So it basically feels as though Calvin has learned nothing, and Ruby is such a likeable character in this. Ruby's fantastic, so we're just thinking she's going to be put into another relationship that Calvin's eventually going to tire of. Because she says she's got friends, and one of the major problems he had with a relationship before was that, she was socialising away from him. So how do we know the same thing's not going to happen again? It feels as though he learned nothing, and there's nothing I hate more from a film than when it just feels as though nothing's been achieved. But, it's only a minor niggle. I'm going to sum this up. Ruby Sparks was a very good film, but if it just rewrote the ending a bit, why couldn't he have shown Calvin just walking off with his dog into the distance? There's this thing, it's like, in a film, there's a trope that once you decide you're happy being single, you will meet your perfect person. It's like fate or destiny, and that doesn't happen. There's a part of a film where Calvin's brother says to him, quirks don't exist. Character quirks, like endearing ones, don't exist. You won't meet anyone like that. They only exist in films. Which is true. And then he goes out, he sees Ruby again, and he is just you know, it's the same woman he wrote. So he did meet someone with character quirks, and he does like her, and now he's going to start going out with her. And man, I am ranting a lot about this ending. I really hated it. It left me a really bitter taste in me off. It honestly brought down the film, because it's a shame because the film was going so well. I mean, it had recovered from Calvin's angriness and his unlikableness, and we were, you know, why couldn't it just ended with him happy being single instead of having him meet Ruby again and start the whole chain of events again? You know, God. Oh man, I ranted a lot there. So yeah, in basics, Ruby Sparks was an excellent film. It wasn't an excellent film. It was a good film that could have been excellent if the ending hadn't let it down. So anyway, I'm going to go now. I will be back this week with another video as soon as I think of something to speak about. I'll probably let you all know what's going on. I should say though, I am going to be moving all my vlogs to their own YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link below the video, and I'm also going to try and get an annotation on the screen. So hopefully that should be popping up below my face right about now. I'll be back this week, and I hope you all enjoyed this and will join me for another one. Bye.